All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a fraternity today, but I'm gonna bet it's not the kind you're picturing. Today's explainer is all about pulling back the curtain on one very specific, very unique chapter, the Kappa Alpha Society at the University of Toronto, and we're giving it a brutally honest look.
And this quote from our source material, it just nails it. It immediately tells you to forget everything you think you know from the movies. We're not in Animal House territory here. No, think less toga parties, more intellectual, more literary, something completely different.
So the first big question is, how did this kind of American-style society even end up in Canada? To understand what it is today, we've got to look at where it came from and the really unique world it lives in up north.
The history here is pretty wild when you think about it. This thing was founded way back in 1892. And get this, it was the very first chapter of any Greek letter society to be set up outside the United States. It's been running continuously for over 130 years at a university, the University of Toronto, that's just not a frat school. It's super academic, tons of commuters, not a big Greek scene at all. So this fraternity is kind of like this strange historical artifact that's completely out of place on its own campus.
All right, so that's the history. But let's get to the question that's on everyone's mind when they hear the word fraternity. The alumni network. Is it the secret club that gets you ahead? We're going to dig into that myth right now. Does being an alum actually swing doors open for you? So is it? Is joining this society some kind of magic wand for your career? Is this the golden ticket that lands you that corner office? You know, the secret handshake that gets your resume to the top of the pile?
Well, the short answer is not really. The value is described as being a lot more subtle than seismic. It's not like you flash a ring and get a job anywhere you want. But, and this is a big but, the network is apparently really concentrated and well-respected in certain circles. We're talking intellectual fields like law, journalism, public policy. So it's more of a quiet, behind-the-scenes power, not some big, loud, in-your-face advantage.
And the source actually puts a number to this, the alumni value score of 58 out of 100. Look, that's not bad at all. It's respectable, it's solid, and in those specific fields we just talked about, it's probably pretty meaningful. But yeah, it's definitely not a magic wand. You've still got to put in the work yourself.
Okay, so the career boost is subtle. Let's move on to the other big reason people think of frats, the parties. We have to tackle the Animal House myth head on. What's the social life, the popularity, what's it really like?
And the difference is, it couldn't be more stark. On the one hand, you've got the stereotype, right? Beer pong, massive parties, hazing, all that stuff. And then you have what actually happens at this chapter. We're talking curated events, deep conversations, real mentorship. The mixtures they have are apparently rare and pretty tame. It's like the source says, this is basically a frat for people who can't stand frats.
So what's the score for the classic, stereotypical party frat lifestyle? A 29 out of 100. Yeah. That number says it all. If you're showing up here looking for Animal House, you have definitely come to the wrong place.
And, following that logic, what about the hookup scene? The chance of scoring? The score here is a pretty modest 35 out of 100. So no, it's not a hookup factory. But what the source points out is that the members tend to attract a very specific kind of person. Someone who's more into your intellect and what you have to say, rather than just flash and noise. Your game here has to be smart.
Okay, so if it's not really a career booster, and it's definitely not a party house, then what is it? What's the actual draw? Well, that brings us to the absolute core of the whole thing, the idea of brotherhood. Let's try and break down what that friendship actually looks and feels like in this place.
And to analyze this, our source uses shall we say, a very unique metric. It's called the homoerotic level scale. Now hold on, let's be super clear here. This has nothing to do with sexual orientation. It's a creative way to measure the intensity and closeness of male friendships. A 1 is like business casual roommates. A 10 is, well, much more intense. So let's see the score.
The score is a 4.7 out of 10, a 4.7. Now, if you look at the scale, that puts it right in the bromance category, and honestly, kind of on the higher end of it. What that tells us is that we're talking about a really significant level of emotional closeness and support here.
So what does a 4.7 actually look like day to day? Well, it means that deep, intense male friendships are just normal. It's the kind of place where those late-night talks can feel like actual therapy sessions, where studying together is its own form of intimacy, where things like hugs and expressing your emotions aren't seen as weird or taboo. It's about a quiet openness, a profound emotional closeness between guys that you just don't see in a lot of other places.
All right, so we've looked at its weird history, the subtle career value, the non-existent party scene, and this really deep, unique form of brotherhood. Let's pull all of that together. It's time for the final verdict.
And the final overall score from the source material is a 51 out of 100. 51. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds perfectly average, maybe even a little underwhelming, right? But that number really captures how nuanced this whole thing is. It's absolutely not for everybody, but for the right kind of person, it seems to be an incredibly valuable experience.
So let's just break it down into simple pros and cons. On the pro side, you've got this incredible historic legacy, you have a genuinely intellectual vibe, and you get these really deep, supportive friendships. Plus, that subtle alumni power. But the cons are just as big. I mean, it's practically invisible on campus, there's zero party scene, and, well, it can feel, as the source perfectly puts it, like a book club with wine.
And all of that leaves us with one final, really important question. Who is this place for? It's pretty clear it's not for the stereotypical frat bro. Not even close. It seems to be built for someone else entirely. For the thoughtful outlier. The kind of person who still wants that sense of brotherhood, but in a totally different way.